and Nicole. So we're just one more. Macy said Melody, Alan, Rich, Rab, Maddie, all in person. So Alan may not come at all today.
Nicole virtual.
Nicole is virtual.
Chris absent.
Oh, wait,
So you just need one more.
it doesn't say the established, does it?
How do I?
And there we go.
I guess you're just
I
gonna
put your
have
nameplates out here so you can grab one.
You're just gonna have to tell me.
You're good.
It's here online.
Yes.
So I don't.
My last name is wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, for today, you're gonna be nice. I feel like this happened a few times now. I don't know what's going on. We'll get
That's
it
okay.
fixed.
Yeah, that happened when you introduced her.
I know. Sorry, Maddie. We're just
Maybe.
we're on a roll here. All right, you can get your meeting started.
All right, we will call the meeting to order at 6:47 p.m. In the room here, I've got Maddie Woods, Rich Orman, blanking on your last name, and myself, Melly Baumhover, and admin Miranda Fisher.
Then online is trustee Nicole Sterling, as well as Aiden and Kayla from SE Group. Yeah.
And we, hopefully you guys saw the email. We have a quick change to the agenda. So we're going to have SE Group go first, and we'll do any other small updates then, and then we'll move into our first discussion item with Marshall Joseph. So SE Group, if you guys want to take it away.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Aiden Eichhoff with SE Group, joined today by Caleb Schmitz, also from SE Group. We are the consultant team working on the comprehensive plan update. We are also partnered with Fair and Peers and Studio Seed to do the downtown plan and to have more coordination with the transportation master plan that is currently ongoing. We are getting towards the end of our initial engagement phase, which includes a survey, an open house, and a couple of these stakeholder meetings. I'm getting a little bit of camera in and out. Can everyone still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I might go camera off just because my internet's glitching. Get some great insight and background from her, but wanted to make sure that we met with this board and had a chance to ask you about your priorities related to sustainability projects and kind of how the public sees those. What are some of the barriers or things that are working really well when it comes to those projects, and just have an initial touch point with this group. I will say that the themes of sustainability and resilience are going to be really core to this plan update. I know that sustainability was an important lens in the previous plan, but we've heard feedback that the plan overall maybe was less specific than it could be and less helpful for guidance. So we will really make sure that this plan still takes sustainability and resilience into consideration as an overarching lens, but really does still have those concrete action items and priorities in there. So I sent over to Miranda some of the initial questions. Hopefully people have gotten a chance to look and start to formulate answers, but let's just start with how the comprehensive plan, the current comprehensive plan, has helped support or guide this board in any of its actions or priorities. We can just all kind of jump in as you feel.
I just want to confirm quickly, that's the 2013
Yep,
update?
correct.
Well, I guess I'll start. This is Melody, and I've been on the sustainability board since, I think, 2015. So quite a long time now. And I will say that as far as sustainability goes, I don't think we pulled on the comprehensive plan very much. We focused more on the Envision 2020 documents, and the goals that were set forth in those documents, because they were more specific, like you were saying, as far as giving us guidance. That's really all I've got.
Great. Anyone else have any other perspectives there? How about the Envision 2030? Was this group involved in creating any of the priorities or action items that are found in the Envision 2030?
I think several of us were, but it was really, there was their own sustainability subcommittee that they had for developing the 2030. So it wasn't directly this board, but we were definitely informed process, but it really was guided more by the residents and less so by government. And so it was more like, let's pull new people in to start to talk about these things. And then some of us also joined just because we also wanted to participate.
Awesome. Thank you. I guess even though we haven't, or this group hasn't really been led as directly by the previous comp plan, are there any projects that might be loosely related to the comp plan, or maybe we can just focus on projects that you have successfully implemented in the last 3 to 5 years? Just kind of tell me about those.
Well, I think the most successful project we've had is getting the electric car share going up here. I mean, it's a concrete thing. You can go see your car. Although every time I drive by it, I see it. So no one, people aren't driving it, but.
Apparently people have driven it,
People
I've
have
learned.
driven.
Not as many as they should, but apparently it has been driven, which is great news, because I also thought it's been sitting for like 10 days. Yeah. Hi.
Any other projects in the last couple of years?
We did have a subcommittee, I think it was the Planning Commission and Sustainability Board members, that worked on revising solar code, and we got a silver Soul Smart designation. And then our zero waste subcommittee has been really active in engaging the public and just educating about where their waste goes, why we have to separate it into different containers. And they've been, participating at farmers markets and helping that event stay zero waste. And I think that social engagement of that subcommittee has been really successful.
Awesome. What about any projects that maybe have not been as successful, or something that you're seeing some barriers in?
Well, I guess that would have been our rooftop, the solar campaign. Yeah, Melody. Or signing up for the
With the US Solar, it's kind of hard to say. Oh no, you're talking about the
yeah, the one before we pivot to pivot.
The what?
the solar rebates we did, because that was successful.
It was, yeah.
Incentivizing people to install solar.
Yep, the US Solar campaign.
No, before that.
Wait, there's a rebate?
Yeah.
I didn't get a rebate.
You
It
probably
was
weren't
just
part of the
one
program.
Okay.
It was just 1 year,
Okay.
2021.
Solarize. Let's get there. Solarize Nederland rebate program.
Yeah, so the
In
Solarize
2021.
was not very successful. So before that, then even is what I'm talking about.
Well,
So
no,
before that,
oh,
we
custom
used
solar.
the sustainability grant
Yeah.
and part of that money to give rebates of $1,000 to anybody who installed a PV system on their roof in the town of Nederland. But funding is always one of our biggest barriers.
Would you also consider Leah's position as a success within the last
Yes.
5 years? I mean, I think that's a huge thing
Definitely.
to have a part-time coordinator.
Thank you. For the projects that maybe weren't as successful, was there a reason? Was there like lack of public awareness, lack of public buy-in, funding?
On the one I can think of was that solar garden, that plan that we were gonna sign up, and it was gonna be that solar garden somewhere out in eastern Colorado, right? That just didn't work. for
Yeah,
a number
US
of
Solar.
reasons. US Solar. And it was a combination of the public thought it might be a little scammy,
Mhm.
not really worthwhile. And even though we really tried to promote it, it just didn't work. And it was also somewhat cumbersome.
Yeah, the other thing, is we've tried several years in a row to try to increase participation in like energy efficiency rebates and other programs like that that Excel offers. And I think we face a similar challenge there where people don't necessarily want it just because they don't want Excel coming into their house. And so those big corporate things, yeah, are definitely a challenge.
Thank you. I guess conversely, is there anything that the public has been really excited about that either the sustainability board has as a current priority or might have as a priority in the future?
Exciting.
Excited is an interesting word.
Yeah.
Folks.
No. Like excited or just aware?
Hopeful, maybe?
I think there has been some positive reception to the rights of nature and the guardians ordinance that we've been working on, and just recently got set up with, just opening that line of communication between the public and the water officials, and just opening that so that it's more transparent for everybody. I've seen some positive feedback from the community about that.
Seems like the in-vessel composter that, I don't know if it's been installed yet. I haven't been
No.
there in a while, but
Has not. That's delayed again.
it seemed like there was a lot of interest from outside of just this group in that
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
Nice. I don't know if we have looked at the rights of nature and guardians ordinance. Caleb, is that something that you've come across?
Yeah, we have come across that recently.
Okay, great.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
there was also a lot of public press around that, which is interesting too. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Cool. I just want to make sure that that gets incorporated into all of our existing conditions and actions and whatnot. So thank you, thank you. For the one that people just mentioned, was it the industrial composter?
Mhm.
Was there a reason? What was the reason for the delay, I guess?
So we don't own our transfer station. It's operated by Boulder County. So we are not in control really of that process, but we did have a zero waste subcommittee, and they were kind of instrumental in helping that grant application go through, helping the staff that was up there put in the application. So we are hoping to have a composter at the Boulder County Waste Transfer Station, but it's really the county's timeline because it's their project.
Got
Do
it,
they-
got it.
There's not enough room, is that the reason?
That wasn't the last one I heard. We moved past that one.
Okay.
Awesome. So this wasn't an initial question on the list, but because you did just mention Boulder County, and I kind of saw it mentioned in the goals and priorities, can you just speak a little bit to your relationship with the Boulder County, like climate action planning or sustainability planners, and if that is a positive and fruitful relationship, or there are some more challenges with communication?
I think to my knowledge, the relationship has been mostly the contacts that the sustainability coordinator has had with Boulder County and those types of entities. That's sort of part of the job, I think, the sustainability coordinator. It's interesting, like we have never had like a working session with someone from the Boulder County government since I've been.
Before we had a coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe PACE too, because PACE is funded by Boulder County, and
Yep.
it seems like we've had a successful working relationship with PACE and the businesses.
Definitely. We used to work with them a lot more often. David Hachimonji, who I don't know where he's at down there. I think he moved offices. But he was working in the sustainability department for a while, and he took it upon himself to actually drive up to Nederland for all of our SAB meetings once a month. And he was a big help while he was attending our meetings, and then COVID happened and the world changed. But I think in general, we have a really good relationship with the sustainability office. I know Leah works with them a lot to get data. Like we pull our carbon data from the reports and studies that the county does, and we kind of extrapolate our piece from that. So as far as the sustainability department with the county goes, yes, great relationship. And I was actually just thinking about this just the other day, that David used to come to all our meetings, and we should start inviting them back.
Or maybe go to one of theirs.
Got to go downhill once in a while. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thanks for the aside. So looking at your sustainability goals dashboard, you have energy, or specifically buildings, building energy efficiency, zero waste, and transportation related energy. How were those priorities prioritized, and especially in relation to the other items here, the climate ones, some of the other energy efficiency, local food systems?
Yeah, this is kind of an ongoing working document that we started several cycles ago. I want to say Diana Maggiore was the one who did that at the time. But anyway, so we had goals, in years past, and then every couple years or so, we just revisit those and see where we want to go. So this last time, we actually spent probably more time than we needed to, but it was good. I think 6 or 7 months throughout our meetings, just having small discussion times, setting our goals, talking through previous goals that we had had. And I think what we came down to was, where do we have the most momentum? And let's keep up that momentum. And where do we have the most capacity? And let's focus on those areas. And while we do have these other goals we want to achieve, let's really try to put our focus behind the places we know we can have success, because there's momentum, there's capacity, maybe there's funding, et cetera.
Yep. Can you speak to a little bit more of what you mean by capacity?
So each board member is a volunteer, and then we have Leah, who only works part-time. So we want to make sure the limited amount of time that she has wisely and on things that like the rest of us can't do. And then each of us as volunteers and as the board rotates and shifts, kind of bring different skill sets or different abilities to the table and trying to capitalize and use those, I think is where I was going with that.
Yep, that makes sense. Any other thoughts or perspectives on how some of those goals rose to the top?
I would just say that all of them are only on here because they are in a town planning document somewhere that we want to do. So that's where they start.
Mm-hmm.
Any other reasons that we specifically prioritized? I think it come down to like, where do we have a champion, someone who can hold this project and keep it moving forward?
Yep. I think that makes sense, and especially some of them have action items or other items that are still kind of like waiting for more information, maybe waiting for funding or waiting for the university students to help. So I think it does make sense how you've prioritized them. I was just curious if there were any specific reasons. I guess just another aside is that we will have some public engagement data related to sustainability priorities that our survey will close at the end of February or March 1st. And we'll make sure to get those results out, posted to EngageNet, and also specifically emailed to the relevant parties. But I do see potentially a gap in some of these goals that we'll definitely talk about in our existing conditions. When it comes to what we've heard, a lot of interest in downtown connectivity and trails and walkability. And while that might not so directly relate to energy efficiency, there are certainly sustainability and resiliency themes that kind of are cooked in there. So we'll make sure to include all that information as well.
Yeah, and I would say something like that. While SAB is definitely related, it might not be something that's necessarily on a priority list because there's other boards that are in a project like that, right? You have the DDA, and then you have not these other inputs, and so it's really the sustainability scorecard that we use to give our input on projects, bigger projects. And then there's also the Pro SAB board that's in charge of trails, right? So SAB isn't out there going to say, oh, let's go put trails. Rely on Pro SAB for that. And then we support them because that does also increase or decrease our fossil fuel usage.
Right, exactly. And I think that's probably how we would discuss it in the plan as well, is saying that these themes came up from public engagement, and while they might not be, moved to the top of your priority list, there are still interrelated things where we would want to show that interconnection and support. But agreed, and that would, I guess, be Leah's job to coordinate with the Parks and Rec people and kind of show how that can be more competitive in a grant if it's hitting a bunch of different goals and objectives within the town. So yeah, agreed completely. Um, okay, we got to public support and maybe some less public support. Let's move to maybe some of the barriers. So we talked about this a little bit with staff capacity, but otherwise, just broadly, what would you say? What would this group say that some of the barriers are to achieving any action? It could be staff capacity, public awareness, funding, space for composters, whatever it is.
Funding, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot
it's
of like
always been that.
Yeah.
larger, more impactful, like projects that we want to take on require more funding than is available.
And, you know, and the town board has priorities that they have to fund,
Absolutely.
So-
When we have a police department, we
Right.
need to fund, that
Right.
takes priority.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And roads and water and
Yep.
all that, so.
And a damn good wastewater treatment facility. Yeah, and I think we are also on track to that being not as much of a problem, because as we transition our sustainability coordinator into staff, that opens up, that Boulder County funding for us again to use on projects. So I think we're getting there. And we also have the, construction, demolition, recycling fund that is now ours. Thank you, Miranda. And some other things that feed into that, the electric chargers go in there, right? But this is really the first year we've had actual designated funding from the town municipality. So we're making improvements, but funding has definitely been a big challenge.
Does the bag tax go directly to SAB as well? Yeah.
Yep.
Once that's
Yep.
finalized.
Would you add?
Yeah, thank you. When we talked with Leah, I think she rattled off like 20 grants that either at some point she had pursued or was going to pursue. And especially with the part-time role, that almost is a full-time job. So I can really see that. I don't know if we talked with her about dedicated funding, so I'm glad that you brought that up. So just to reiterate, you have the construction, demolition, and recycling fund, the electric charging, and then the bag tax. Are there any other funding sources for this group?
I think that's it.
Nice. Okay.
I guess the thing that's changed, Aiden, is that it was a construction and demolition fee, but now it's a sustainability and permitting fee.
Mhm.
So it's a percentage of every permit. That construction and demolition was only charged to certain building permit types, where this is
Mhm.
now every permit, which we run about 100 permits a year. Every permit has this fee, and that feeds straight into SAB.
Nice.
And the other thing I was just gonna mention is I think with a lot of these grant opportunities, what we really need is more regional collaboration. And so that staff capacity is the limiting factor there, and actually being able to develop those partnerships to where we could put forward a successful grant application.
Right. And who would be that regional partner? That's not Boulder County, but maybe some of the other towns?
Well, sometimes it is Boulder County.
Okay.
Sometimes the other towns, like I know Leah talks a lot with Lyons.
And he
And
recently met with Gilpin.
Gilpin County as well, as I was just gonna say. So it kind of depends on the project. I know one successful regional collaboration we have is getting the peak to peak to be an EV corridor. And I think we're almost there. There's like one or two more spots that
Yeah.
need.
Gilpin we have to install
Yeah.
our level 3s and Gilpin has to install theirs.
Oh, ours are still behind. I forgot.
I mean, technically we can get it with the ones we have.
Yeah.
Where Gilpin's gonna be,
Their community center.
so almost
Yes.
down in Central
So,
City?
yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that's right. The community.
Well, the community center,
Mid Gilpin.
on the left there, Golden Gate Canyon. 46.
Oh, Okay,
by the Justice Center and
Because-
baseball.
yeah, that's, I would consider that all.
Blackhawk Central City already have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you head down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been a successful regional collaboration, and so that's between both towns and cities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So that staff capacity is not only something that Nederland deals with, but I'm assuming that Lyons and Central City and Gilpin County also have those similar struggles.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Awesome. Other than funding being one of the main barriers, what else? And I guess that staff capacity part we just talked about.
I think one of the things that, we've tried to do as best as we can, and definitely someone say something if you don't agree with me, but just being able to show people like, these are the actual benefits that you get when you do this sustainable thing, in a way that it feels compelling to them to actually want to do it. I feel like a lot of the times it's hard to get past the broad, ethereal, philosophical part of sustainability and really get into the nuts and bolts of how people are contributing by taking these different actions or participating in these programs. And so that's, a factor to buy in, getting people to actually buy in.
Yep. I know. If only we could solve that problem broadly, we would be in a different place. But okay, so that public education, awareness, and
In
buy-in.
general, we do relatively environmentally aware community, more than most. So we do have that benefit for us. But it also comes out sometimes as like community members think they know more than somebody else, and then we're on these DuckTales and so really being able to focus on specifics of like, this is the benefit you're gonna provide would be great.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your meeting, and I know that we joined very last minute, so we'll just wrap up with this next question. But we do really want to make sure that this future comprehensive plan is going to be useful. So how do you see this comprehensive plan better serving this board?
I feel like it's a good opportunity to use it as like a springboard to start to update some of the goals. Like I wasn't necessarily part of the current goals and dashboard, so I'm not as familiar with it as some of the other members, but it seems like the input that we get is going to help us to be a springboard for setting continued goals in the future and like keeping things rolling, I guess, with what we're working on. I just think sustainability things are changing so quickly all the time that, goals you set 5 years ago are completely different than what you need to set now.
I think another thing, and this is, I'm the liaison to the Sustainability Advisory Board, but I sit on the Board of Trustees. And what was apparent in my first time reading through the comprehensive plan and then after getting counsel from legal is that, and I think you alluded to this at one point or another, is that it's just not very specific when it comes to the sustainability aspect. It's like we want some really visceral, very concrete things instead of sort of this flowery language that we want to be sustainable. Okay, but how are we going to actually put that into action? And so I know as a member of the BOT, I'm going to be looking for that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it would also help to have, rather than like, this is a section of the document on sustainability, and this is what we're doing on sustainability. Have it more be congruent throughout every piece of it, of like, this is one part of our plan. And this is the sustainable parts of that plan. And this is another piece of our plan. And this is that sustainable aspect of this plan. Because I feel like that's where we really get lost. And then we do just have this flowery language, you know, of we want sustainable development that promotes infill. Okay, but what does that actually look like? You know, do we want houses with very little housing density? You know, what are the specific factors that make that sustainable and make it infill and et cetera, et cetera?
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Well, this group has the list of questions. We're happy to take any other information or ideas or thoughts that come up over the next few weeks. Definitely coordinate with Miranda on that, and she will make sure that that information gets passed on to us. Our next steps will be to summarize the survey results. We have 2 more of these stakeholder meetings, one about water and one about economic development. And then by mid-March, we will be wrapped up after the downtown open house, which is exciting. And I hope that some of you can make it there. But thank you all for your time and especially accommodating us last minute.
Thanks, Aiden and Caleb. Melanie, I'm almost
Yeah.
wondering, break up your agenda a little bit, let Charlie and Andrew go, and then we'll go back to.
I don't know that we actually have any other updates.
I do want to talk car share,
Okay.
but let's maybe do that.
We should get to the fire
Yeah,
department.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Aiden and Caleb, appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You want to talk?
Thank you, everyone.
Well, you're well welcome to stay for the whole meeting.
Come every month.
Yeah.
So maybe I can just, so at your meeting last month, if you recall, we talked a little bit about solar, and then a question got brought up about how do we balance out solar installation and promoting solar with international fire code. And so I reached out to Andrew, who's our fire marshal, who had really talked about, you know, that he really does, he is very pro solar, really looks at ways to try to make this happen, you know, and where are there opportunities to maybe seek, I don't want to say variances, but kind of work with the code and the solar installer. But ultimately felt like there was no need to seek an amendment to the International Fire Code because of Andrew's kind of approach. And so Andrew offered to come here to talk to you all about just that. And then I think Chief Schmidtman, Charlie wanted to talk about some other things.
Cool.
Is there an issue with people getting denied a permit to install?
I think it came up with Melody's specific situation.
Yeah,
that she
it
wanted
wasn't
to
that I
cover more.
couldn't.
Yeah.
It was I couldn't do my whole roof basically because of the size of the pieces and the slopes and yada
It
yada.
wasn't because of Excel?
Right, but fire code came in and obviously, and I don't know if you had a chance to look into Melody's specific situation, but
Probably.
that started the conversation
Probably not.
is, you know, is it possible that fire code is being a barrier? And Andrew really offered reassurances that that's not the way he approaches this. So I think the nice thing is you've got a Netherlands specific fire marshal who's willing to look at kind of how do we make this work while also not compromising.
Rap's not online, is he?
No, he's not.
Because he's our expert. I was hoping he's.
Yeah, but
Bummer.
Andrew.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew, I'm the fire marshal. This is Chief Schmidtman. I started this position a year and a half ago. New. When I took over this position, I had a lot to learn. In that time, I have learned a whole lot. And my predecessor, Rick Hendrickson, kind of showed me how he was doing solar review. And I kind of inherited the process as well. I did bring the book. I bring it just about everywhere I go, especially for meetings like this. Some questions about specifics and we can get into that. But just to give you a broad picture, the reason why there's fire code for solar panels is because in the event of a structure fire, there are processes and operational things that we want to do specifically on the roof. And the code exists so that we can access certain parts of the roof and do things such as ventilation, which would be cutting a hole into the roof and either drawing fire away from a certain area or just giving it a place to go instead of horizontally. So something that I've taken into consideration with solar plan review is that we don't live in a flat area. I understand that this book does a pretty good job of setting a standard, but allowing flexibility. For me, I thought, well, and I've talked to Chief and our previous chief about this as well, that sometimes the only place that a resident could put solar panels on their roof would be that driveway side. And how can we, I always look and see, well, I'll give an exception to this because we can get to the back. Let's let them put all the solar on the front roof. We can get to the back roof. We can access it if we have to. There's even been instances where we've said, this roof looks dangerous and I'm not sure we'd want to be up there, but we never want to take away that possibility because we're not there on the ground fighting a fire there. So when you make certain amendments to this code, what it does is it restricts the way that we train. It restricts the operational decision-making that the incident commanders can do when they're fighting a fire. So I do want to say that I've never rejected a solar application ever. Never turned one down. I have tweaked a handful. A lot of them are pretty cut and dry. I did look up your address. I couldn't find that there was any plans submitted.
There wasn't, no,
Okay.
no.
So, there's certain parts of this code that it basically looks like this. The 3-foot thing is a really common in fire code. That's how much space we need to move as a firefighter.
Big old bulky.
Sure,
Yeah.
big old bulky firefighters. And there's ways to adjust these pathways, for example. I already mentioned one where I'll make exceptions for the front of homes as long as it's safe. And there's other ways that we can get on top of the roof. Another way that we adjust it is that on the ridgeway on the top of the roof, we allow 18 inches on one side and 18 on the other instead of a full 3 feet on either side. We also make exceptions to the percentage of the roof that you can cover.
Yep.
So I would encourage people that even if they go through, you go to somebody that's doing an install, they'll have an engineer that maps it out for the roof. And they'll say, this might not pass the fire code, but I would encourage them to submit them. Because
See,
it's
and the issue I ran into is the 2 installers I talked to wouldn't even go past because this is what your code says. So we're not even gonna look at putting more on your roof
Okay.
or drop those plans or do anything because this is what fire code is. So that's why there's nothing
Gotcha.
submitted.
They don't want to get sued.
Well, and I told him, I'm like, I literally know the building department people. Like, I promise you, I know the process to apply for a variance. I'm very
Sure.
confident, in moving forward. And
But
they
they-
were like, yes, but our engineer won't do that because it's not.
And that's
They don't want to
possible.
get sued.
It's possible that there's
Yeah.
a liability issue
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
What do you got?
What he said. No, yeah. So, I mean, they're probably looking at IFC, and we're not the only agency that is dealing with the
Yeah.
fire code, right? So every agency around. My number one goal is to keep our responders safe. Like, absolute first thing, that's my number one goal and my responsibility.
Mhm.
Andrew is a bit more lenient, I'd say, than I am. And, you know, I have to apologize for that, but again, I need to make sure that all of my volunteers are going home to their loved ones. You know, this isn't what they do for a living, right? This is what they're giving back to the community. And for me, I have to say, if I'm putting a responder up on somebody's roof in the dark, wearing a full bunker gear, wearing an air pack, carrying a chainsaw, right? And now you're asking them to keep less room on the edge of the roof. I struggle with that.
Yeah,
And so,
definitely.
you know, Andrew makes a lot of exceptions, and I was a builder for over 20 years, so, but trust me, I am familiar with all of this stuff. So, you know, I think that, you know, Andrew reviews a lot of the exceptions with me, and like he said, you know, he hasn't denied anybody, and nobody, as far as I know, nobody has submitted a plan and not built a solar system.
Yeah, and I think the impression I got with my roof and talking to the installers is that adding more panels wasn't necessarily gonna be a hindrance. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation and really check and make sure, like, would this be a hindrance? Because if it is, of course, we don't want to try to change that. I think it's more, are there any places we're not recognizing? So basically, my roof goes like this on the front side, and that's the south side, so that's where the panels go. And so I need that easement where that roof changes slope, you know, in the middle of the roof. Meanwhile, the back half of the roof is fully accessible. There's not gonna be any panels there. And then I also have 2 windows on each side into that attic space. So there's various different factors that I just wasn't sure, does something like this impact you?
Looking at, you know, I don't think there's any code about transitions, as far as I know. There are codes that,
For commercial buildings, I don't believe.
yeah, nothing for residential. You know, the 18 inches bringing it nearly to the top of the ridge line, you know, all I can really recommend is submit the plan that will absolutely work with you.
I know, but I need to get an installer to agree to that plan.
Sure.
They were under the impression that where the roof changes slope, there is a code. That 18 inches still needs to be there.
How big a system are you talking about?
I couldn't tell you, but 6 panels, and I really needed 9 to cover my use. So it's not even worth it to me to put up 6 because I'm already on 100% solar subscription
Can
through
you do
Excel.
ground mount now that it's?
I don't have enough space on that parcel. It's a 4,000 square foot parcel in a subdivision where it should be 8,000. So I really, shouldn't be doing anything, but we'll get there. I know there's ways.
There's ways.
Yeah, you
You
know,
know the building.
I don't see anything for residential at all. It's got pathways to ridge, setbacks at ridge, and then alternate setbacks, but there's nothing in here that mentions change of pitch.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder what providers, I don't know if there's even information about like providers that other people have used
I have.
that have submitted. And
I mean,
gotten
I know
variance.
Namaste works a lot up here.
Yeah,
Seen that.
There's a couple others that do.
I guess I'm surprised that 2 companies gave you the same answer, but other people have gotten variances. That seems
You know, and
strange.
then there's PIBV.
BIP, building integrated photovoltaic. That stuff is starting to come around. And Busey Brews did an installation on their back deck. And
Beautiful.
when they submitted the plans, I saw them, didn't realize it was BIPV, and initially I rejected them.
Yeah,
And the installer gave me a call and educated me on BIPV, and I was like, well, it's not in my code book. But let me talk to Chief. And so I spoke with Chief and said, can I go to a newer set of code where the BIPV is
mhm,
and have this installer follow the new code?
mhm.
And they did. So that's another example of how we're willing to work with people. We want the solar to happen. We just want it to happen safely.
Is that like the solar roof with the solar tiles?
Yeah, it's like the house at like Third and Bridge.
Yeah,
the greenhouse.
Okay.
yeah.
That house has that type of system on it.
Tesla.
It's
like
not,
Tesla
you know,
solar
it's
roof.
not the most economic system, so I'm not telling you that it's,
No,
you know, and
yeah,
But it's
again,
coming around.
I understand it. I understand building your own house and, you know, all of the costs associated with that. It is an option. You know, if you don't have the roof space, like that, I can't fix, right? Like, so, but if they come up with some ideas, present them to us and we're not here to ruin your life and make
Yeah.
things harder. You know, that's
But-
not our goal.
and I guess I would like a good way to be able to communicate to the public that wants to install solar, of like, that you are open to working with it as long as everybody stays safe, you know, and how do we craft that messaging so we're not sending a bunch of people at you that you're gonna have to naysay, you know, but also keep your guys' integrity, like.
Yeah, I mean, the concern for me was being consistent, you know, we
Yeah.
don't want to necessarily have an open message that says like, yeah, submit any plans you want, we'll hope for the
Exactly.
best, you know, and
Exactly.
that's not really it, you know, we want people to abide by the code, it makes everybody's life easier.
Mhm.
But, you know, we've even had installs that didn't follow the message or the plans to the T, you know, and we were still accepting with that.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't really necessarily want the message going out to the public saying, yeah, shoot for it and we'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
There's exceptions in the code.
yeah.
Mhm.
The code is written broadly and generally.
Mhm.
We advise people to follow the code and, but pay attention to the exceptions. And there's installers that understand that. And, yeah, I think that we've done a really good job of working with people and working with those exceptions and then making sure that my boss isn't mad at me. So I think that we've done a pretty good job compromising and encouraging people to build solar installations in our area.
The other parts of it are, you know, it's not necessarily your house, interior of your house is on fire. We have a wildland fire,
Yeah.
pushes embers underneath the solar panels, and now we can't access that. Your chimney's on fire. We can't get to your chimney because it's in the center of the house.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of reasons that these codes are in play, and it's not necessarily just for the tactics of how we're gonna fight an interior fire. So there are reasons around all of these things, you know, and then the other thing is, you know, in older houses, the weakest part generally is right on the edge, is where it gets most of the weathering. You know, a lot of people don't have great soffits, so it gets weathered from underneath, it gets rotted. And so you see a lot of hazards on the very edge. So that's why we try to get a little bit more space just so our firefighters can be up there.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, do you have any questions for us or anything else I can research for you or?
Nope.
You know, the other thing is maybe you can have the solar company call us.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we can talk through that. Hey, what are the problems that you're seeing? What would you need, you know, et cetera, if it's something out of it.
Mhm. Definitely.
Yeah, and we try to convey that message to folks, especially in our design review committee meetings that, like Chief says, we're not here to make your life hard. If you're running into a problem, reach out to us. I'll engage with any builder. I have people stop by my office all the time. Just want to ask a question, run into a problem, something seems weird, or they don't know how they're going to meet the code. And
Mhm.
we've always found a solution.
Well, thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you a lot.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. My pleasure. All right.
Thanks for having us.
You easily could be like father and son, like brothers or something like that.
We're cousins.
Oh,
Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it.
So do you want to talk car share or zero waste?
I probably have to maybe go car share. So Rich kind of alluded to it, the cup is there. We did kind of a soft launch. I don't think it really moved at all during the soft launch. And then we did the hard launch on Valentine's Day. I've heard some people be like, I drove it, it was great. But it was just like a handful. So would love just some feedback on how you feel like we could push it out more. I've been playing a little bit of phone tag with CarShare. They have some observations they want to share with me, but we didn't connect before this meeting. The one challenge we're having is people are unplugging it so they can plug in their vehicle. So what they do is, the car share takes up one EV. The board agreed to let it do that. Someone pulls up next to it and then takes it out and charges if there's somebody in the already vacant one. So every morning I've asked Karina and Peter when they arrive, because they'll put the charger in the back. They won't put the charger back in our vehicle. They put it back on the kind of the hook. And so
Well, the thing probably closes, right?
but you can just pop it open.
It doesn't lock with the car locking?
Yeah, it depends on the car, but even so, it's not I've never tried on that car, but like on my car, it's not obvious at all how to do that. I know how to.
That's fair, sure.
So,
Yeah, so they hang it up. So our team every morning, Monday through Friday, we first thing in the morning go charge it back in. Because last thing we want is for someone to rent it and then it's dead.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine. So that's one of the challenges that we're facing, and a lot of complaints of like, how come you all decided to take away one charger? Now there's only one, and so not great that there's a delay in the level 3s, because if we had the level 3s, it wouldn't really be a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of feedback of what we've seen so far. Would love to hear anything you've heard, as well as how do you feel like we could push this more to get signups?
I know farmers markets won't start for a while, but like if there's a way that we could have the car at the farmer's market and people could do a walkthrough, like, okay, this is how you sign up. These are the steps. And like, I feel like that face-to-face interaction is more important, or is important for these kinds of signups.
absolutely.
Because sometimes if it's clunky I haven't tried to sign up yet with an account. But if it's clunky, people are just gonna give up. Like we saw it happen with the Eco Pass. It was
Yeah.
really challenging
It was
for people
terrible.
to switch.
It's actually not super clunky to sign up, which is great.
Yeah,
And then you get the credits. You get all those credits because we got the $6,000 worth of credits.
yeah.
So, I think that having it at, if possible, farmer's market, not just like a booth, but like
Yeah.
a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a few of them, that is key, I think. Also, there's two ways people get news up here, right? They get it from the newspaper and they get it from the Facebook group. And maybe it's a little something in the Mountaineer about it.
We did a press release and a flyer
Right. So
last
if
week.
we could get them to write an article about it, like offer them like a free day or something.
You know
And then-
what they really love is letters to the editor.
Well, that's what we
Because then
did.
Their staff doesn't have to create the content.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, they're not very big on creating content, but if we gave them like maybe one of their, one of the guys, can't remember who it is, is really into environmental stuff.
I could talk to Chris or
Yeah.
Tanya. I
And
think
then
both of them I
if
know
we-
pretty well.
If we could say, hey, we'll give you a free day, so
Yeah.
you can sort of experience what it's like, and go to Boulder and go wherever you want, right? And then write an article about your experience with it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a good experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I don't know how a good netheads post would work. That people would read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that I don't think this is one of the posts, we're really trying to get people to come to our channel, so not everything ends up on Netheads, Net Talk, Net Area News. I'm not sure this one, I think this is one of those that just stayed on our page
Yeah.
and didn't get forwarded, and so I'm happy to just try it right now and send it out and see if
Yeah.
we can.
Maybe a video. It can be like a cell phone, just a little cell phone video of, hey, this is the car with a little thing on
Did
it.
Tom take any selfies when he test drove it?
He sends me 1,000 photos a day. I'm surprised he didn't. I'm gonna tell him.
Or like showing people like how to go through the process of
Yeah.
actually reserving it.
Right.
And then like, what if someone's never driven in a
Exactly.
before and they're intimidated? Like, how do I plug the charger in? How
Right.
do I know when
Yeah.
I run out of
Push the button
battery?
to
Like,
start.
yeah, like how do you
Yeah.
put it
You
in?
have to push a button.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I
haven't
got
done
it
this
to my,
in-
I got it to my, I got it to my sister's car for the first time and I was like, I've never been in a push button start before.
My
Like,
car-
I didn't know.
I still have
No
it.
button. Has no key.
It just,
I just get in the car and
Right.
go.
yeah, that's her husband's car that's newer.
And like, how do you turn it, like, friends who have Rivians, it's like, you just walk away from the car and it
Mhm.
turns itself off, how, what is,
How do you know?
what is this car's?
Yeah, I don't know,
system?
but don't we have like a social media person?
Yep, Peter,
That would, seems to be a perfect job for the social media person,
do a video?
to do a little video.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if, I would be happy to work with Peter if he wants someone to like
Yeah.
film it with him or whatever. I'd be
Cool.
totally cool with doing that.
Great.
I've got,
Great.
I mean, I think cell phone is perfect with this, but I've got like fancy cameras and stuff. I'd totally be happy to do
Cool.
that, yeah.
That sounds great. I wrote it down.
Have Peter contact me.
Okay, cool.
And then I think everybody sharing it on their personal Facebook helps to
Right.
just get the word out.
I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna just share it right now to those groups, just to see what happens.
And I understand the town wanting to use its own channel, but
We try.
I can tell you, like, I just check netheads to see what the gossip is around town. And the town's never gonna give me the gossip, right? So-
No,
No, sorry, we don't do
Yeah.
that. We try not to do
it's
that.
also really hard to change people's habits.
Sure.
I'm in another group and there's like a Facebook group that they operate and they're trying to get people to move off the Facebook group and onto their own website where they've created this whole
Yeah.
community and it's just not working. Because people are so used to going to Facebook and there it is. I don't know if it's worth. I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Excel. I don't know if it's worth mentioning, like, we were supposed to have 3 chargers by now.
They actually pulled their permit. So there's no need to talk to Excel. They pulled their permit to upgrade the electrical, and so they're moving.
I know, but I mean, it's as far as communicating to the public that like, this is why we don't have them yet. Is like Excel didn't have the right infrastructure. We ended up having to upgrade this because we switched chargers on them.
Yes,
And
I want to be mindful not to throw them under the bus. 'cause
I
they're
know,
partners.
me too. That's what I mean. I have a love-hate relationship where,
I guess so I didn't think permits were gonna be pulled for another 6 months. So I'm pleasantly surprised to see that the permit got pulled yesterday.
okay,
So I was like, all right. So
Maybe just simply say like, they're coming soon and.
Yeah, sure.
Or the car share
have
happened.
Peter take a picture of them in the warehouse.
You can even put a sign.
They're so beautiful. They're
Coming
here.
soon, yeah.
We promise you we
Yeah.
have them.
Yeah,
Is there a minimum age for this?
I believe it's 18.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
And I know we don't have.
It's actually younger than renting a
Renting
car.
a car.
Yeah.
We don't have a huge high school up here, but like, I know when I was in high school, a lot of people didn't have a car. And like in their senior year especially, like, this would have been fantastic.
So
where-
from out
where I
of
grew up.
school.
So maybe something with the senior class,
Mhm,
who, some of them are gonna be 18 right now.
mhm.
Yeah,
There's a Netherland High School Parents and Guardians Facebook group too, that I could share it to that one too.
yeah,
Well, I'm thinking like, something at the school.
At the high school.
Yeah, like,
Sure, for sure.
yeah, it's a good idea.
maybe the social media guy, Peter,
Yeah,
could arrange something and
it's a great idea.
go over and
Um,
maybe even bring them over to the car.
Two, I also think that I need to talk to the Housing and Human Services group a little bit, because to me, it's like, that just seems like a perfect avenue.
Yeah.
Like, those are individuals who have to juggle with transportation,
Yep.
and here's a vehicle just sitting there.
Yep.
Do we know what percentage of people up here do not have a vehicle?
It's very small.
Yeah, that's
It's a
another,
transportation multimodal plan, and I don't have that off the top of my head, but it's small.
I would say, to your point, I think a lot more high schoolers
Yeah.
here probably have cars.
oh, sure.
Than any city,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, just because you have to have. one.
So I know people don't like this idea, but, I think that people that rent Airbnbs up here might be a real good use for it.
I agree with that.
And if there's some way to promote it with that, there's a web page called Wiki Travel,
Mhm.
which a lot of people use when they're going somewhere. And the Nederland page for that used to be sort of like you go up to Nederland, there'll be some hippies. That was literally like the whole page for Nederland. And I went through and I spent a couple hours actually putting stuff in that. So I could put in something about the car share. I don't know how many people read that, but
Be great.
You may want to have Peter look at that thing because there's all kinds of complaints that I didn't do it right.
Huh.
I didn't follow the proper format.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it, okay. Well, yeah, I think my big thing is like, just help spread the word. I'll get a hold of Bobby, who's our contact there. I'll send maybe a Sab an email when I get the like lessons learned, what their observations have been, because that's gonna be one of my questions, like, how many people have even signed up for this thing?
Yeah.
Because now I've got a vehicle that, I would hate to have a vehicle taking over a charger that's not even being
Yeah.
used.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like not,
And ask them about like giving out a press pass to somebody.
Yeah.
To like,
yeah,
And so we could do the Mountaineer.
yeah.
That's really the only.
I'd like the high school
yeah, the
team,
registered
talking to
callers.
them. And the
I think they
pizza,
are. But I
housing,
don't really
human
do much,
services.
but I see it in Ace Hardware.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is still around.
Could we put like could, Peter help just create like a printout flyer to post places?
Yeah, so this flyer,
We have.
yeah, we've got
I haven't
physical
been-
ones. So we did print some of these that have gone up, but,
Perfect.
you know.
Perfect. I feel like it's just a good, like I sent the initial one around to a couple of friends who I know, you know, if their car is in the shop or something, or maybe they don't want to take their car all the way down to Boulder because it's just kind of a mountain car and they don't want to drive it down the canyon.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a perfect opportunity for that too.
oh, interesting, I like literally just posted it to the Nederland groups, and the Mountaineer has the Ned head that says, have you been wondering about the car in the visitor center parking lot? Here's all the information you need.
Oh, really? Okay,
Double up.
good.
Okay, maybe we just did it, I don't know. Just as a proof.
Maybe they asked Peter what's going on and Peter's like, this is what Sab sent me.
It was a what's going on, but it wasn't delivered to us in that same way. It was a little bit more negative by the Mountaineer being like, what is it? The way it came to us early on was like, why is there this car parked there forever? Not realizing there was this partnership.
Yeah,
This is the soft,
like,
like
what
the
the
soft
program
launch.
Yeah.
Do the hard launch, do the
Yeah.
soft launch. So everyone just thought like, what's up with this car share that's just taking over space?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
perhaps soft launch wasn't the best idea, but it was a lot of like, what is this?
Everybody does a soft launch on everything these days, right?
But we fielded a lot of complaints for a while.
Can't do things
Yeah.
the regular way.
Uh,
We just learned, you don't follow the process.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, some more to come on that. Keep you all posted.
Cool. Then zero waste subcommittee.
Yep. So went to the zero waste subcommittee meeting. The first thing first, I think they're going to be orderly. With the delays happening at the transfer station with both the LED sign and the composter, they were just like, they didn't really know what to work on, but that was also kind of, they were feeling like, what do you want them to be doing? And they don't want to be doing something that's different from SAP goals. And so they also felt like they didn't want to go off and set their own priorities. And so they're in a little bit of a pause phase of just wanting direction from you all. Like, what do you want them to be focused on? It's a great group and they need direction.
Who's on it?
Annette, Trufelt, Frank, Larry was, but isn't now, Cindy Cochin. I'm forgetting somebody, but Sandra, I don't remember Sandra's.
So
last name.
it's a big group then.
It's about 5
Oh,
of
really?
them.
Okay.
Yeah. They were meeting every month, but it was just kind of feeling like, what should we be doing? Decided
Well-
not to go for any grants, and I think that also played into it, is they were really kind of active in trying to figure out compostable or recyclable materials for businesses, but when that didn't work out, and we're kind of on a pause for plastic bags and styrofoam ban because we can't do that ordinance until midsummer. They just don't really know what to put their energy towards, but you've got them here and eager and ready, so they're looking for your feedback.
Well, I was gonna say, I know it's not coming up until mid-year, but we could be, getting all the educational materials together to give out to businesses on like businesses aren't gonna make the switch to something sustainable unless you do the heavy lifting for them, is what we found in this town. So saying, here's 5 different economic, or sustainable packages that you can use instead of styrofoam, you should pick one of these, isn't gonna get them to change. You have to say, I actually researched and I found this particular package and look, it's only 2 cents more than the one you're buying. And I think you should switch to this one and this is why. And really make it easy for them to say, oh yes, I could make that change.
Sure.
Um,
We did talk a little bit about that actually, that we needed to prepare the materials. And so I was working with Peter to start to pull that together. Pace had already done it for Pace, and Pi had already pulled some stuff together for us. I think we just want to use that and just print it out. But we did talk about that and they're very much on board with that distribution. So that's in their world. Because I do agree, because I also want to make sure that we're putting the messaging out so that you're not buying styrofoam in June, right? Because the way the ordinance is written is that it basically allows you to use whatever stock you have. We don't want people stockpiling. So the earlier we can get ahead of like, here's how you do this, please don't excessively buy styrofoam.
Of course, that may just get people excessively
buy a
buy
bunch.
styrofoam.
Right, and I feel like the tactic of that is going to be very important here.
Grocery stores like Kroger already did stock
Yeah.
up on a ton of plastic bags and stuff so that they
Did
can
they?
go through their stock.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that's important.
I noticed at King Soopers, it's only paper bags, although I always bring my own bags, but I
Yeah.
think they're done away with the plastic bags like at King Soopers in Boulder.
Yeah, I guess I'm not always at that one. But it was plastic. I mean, they give you the option, but there was plastic bags last time I was in there.
Do you think they would be interested in, I don't know, like some kind of residential waste reduction campaign? I feel like more recently I don't know if this is just more residents and more garbage, but the bins at the transfer station fill up faster and oftentimes you get there and it's full. And is that just like maybe doing a little research into like, are we generating more waste because there's more people up here? Do we need to try to have some kind of residential campaign about how can you reduce waste? And I don't know, just constant education tends to help with those kinds of things.
Yeah, I don't know if they've added dumpsters to the transfer station since I've lived here, but I feel like since I've been here in 2010, there's pretty much always been those times where it's like, sorry, dumpster's full today, come back in a few days.
Do you feel
So
like
I
it's
don't-
happening more? Like, it seems like in the last year, it's happening more often.
Well, there is the factor of people can't compost anything more than food scraps, where they
Yeah.
used to be able to compost their paper towels, paper plates, newspaper, you
Yeah.
know, all that, even, pizza boxes. A lot of people would take their crosscut pizza box and throw it in the composter.
Yeah,
And we can't do any of that, so all that's now going to the landfill.
that is true.
So it could be that. I don't know. I guess it was Garrett that would have done the audit at the waste transfer station to try to understand what our diversion rate is to begin with, because we didn't have a baseline to begin with. I don't know if we've done it since then, and that was several years ago, so probably a good time.
Mhm.
But again, it's the counties, so we have to rely on
Yeah,
the county staff and or send one of our staff up there to
yeah.
do.
Does
some
the
sort
zero
of
waste
survey.
subcommittee have those relationships?
Yeah,
though?
so-
Because they've been working on
Yeah.
everything else.
Cody Lindstrom was attending, and then his replacement, I think his name was Jonathan, is gonna start attending.
Mhm.
So yes, they definitely have the relationships.
So doing another waste diversion study would be something they could work on.
Yeah.
Volunteers sitting
Yeah,
up there,
that's a
you
great
know,
idea.
collecting answers from people. And I'm sure that the process Gary used is somewhere in here.
Yeah.
The drive.
I think these are good. I think maybe what I'm hearing though, kind of thematically, is that you'd really like them to work on education campaigns, like public outreach, public engagement. That's what you'd like to see them focus some of their energy on right now. Am I hearing that?
I guess I feel like that's just what they've been good at. So I don't necessarily.
And I think they're happy to do it.
Them.
Yeah, I think they're happy to do it. I think they really feel like they want to make sure that they're not doing anything that doesn't feel aligned with you all. Especially there's actually no staff member who serves as a liaison. And so they did wonder if anyone wanted to.
Yes, we
Because
should have one.
without Leah, and obviously Leah helps, but it would be great if there was a staff member who wanted to serve in that capacity. The challenge is that group meets in the middle of the day on a Wednesday. I know that can be a barrier, but maybe food for thought. Their next meeting won't be until the first Wednesday of April.
Is it always the first Wednesday
Yeah.
of the month?
Always the first Wednesday at 1.
Is it every other month?
And you know, they
Every
might,
quarter now.
No.
they might
could
actually
probably
want to
make-
meet more often after April because the farmer's market starts back up in May.
Yeah, I think they thought there was nothing to really do right now, so.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
This
like,
month
take some-
and next month off, especially with, and then kind of Leah should hopefully be back.
Yep.
But yeah, if you can join us on April 3rd, it's at 1:00. And there's also a virtual, I guess. You can join virtually. The group does come together at the library.
That should be fine. I'm home on Wednesdays anyways, so
It's to you.
great. That should work.
Cool.
Zero waste isn't necessarily like my forte in sustainability, but I'm happy to.
This group is
That-
strong.
this group
Yeah,
knows what they're doing. Like they
Yeah,
know way more than I do. about
yeah,
it all.
they're great. Cool. All right, well, I'll take that back to them. Thank you very much.
Um, another thing, and this might be something else that's like, not now, but 6 months from now, is, I'm gonna bring it up again. I know Chris P was vehemently against it, but compost receptacles in town. I know.
Nikki is just as much against it.
I know the issues, but at the carousel, I get everybody's compostable to-go-ware in my trash can because we are not a food place. So I don't have a place for them to put it. And they go, well, where's the composter? Well, at the restaurant you got it from is really the only place. And so our tourists and our businesses that have done so well at getting all these compostable things like Crust Cut and what's the other one that does really well, Salto, and our tourists have no place to trash. It's like it's all going to the landfill, and compostables in the landfill is worse for the environment than just regular.
Ultimately gonna come down to staffing. So actually the DDA had Nikki talk to them about, they wanted more trash cans,
So
right?
I don't know if the zero waste committee wants to look at that, tackle that.
Sure.
That was
DDA
my.
wants more.
The DDA wanted more trash cans, but the problem is it's people. You can't have more trash cans without the staff to then take care of trash. And so Nikki has more people, but she'd like to kind of see how it goes with the people who will be picking up trash that kind of ends up all over town.
Yeah.
And so that's just it. The answer can't just be more receptacles if we don't have the people.
Do we
Yep.
have public trash cans?
Yeah,
Yes,
not a lot, because they don't have a lot of
we
people.
don't have a lot, but
Yeah.
there are some.
And they were misused. We used to have one outside of town hall. People would jam their household trash in that thing.
They do it at Chipeta Park. That's why those bars are there. They do
Yeah.
it at the Quick Mart, to the Quick Mart gas stations.
Yeah.
They, Quick Mart actually had an issue a few weeks ago. Where people were just leaving bags of trash outside of their dumpster container. And, people do it up here behind the community center too. They leave a bag of trash on top of the locked dumpster because they can't put it in. And
Fortunate.
one thing I have heard from people regarding that, of why that is such a prevalent thing, is we have a lot of people from Airbnbs, from campgrounds, all these travelers, and there's no dump in town. So they're driving through town and they're like, there's no place to take my trash. So they have to drive out of town, away down a
Yeah.
weird road for a mile. So it's like they don't even know it's there, so they don't know what to do with it, so they just leave it somewhere in town. And if we had a way that was clearly visible in town somewhere, transfer station on Ridge Road, or dump your things on Ridge Road, that maybe people would know to do that, but of course, we can't guarantee that is the problem. It could just be locals that don't want to pay $5 to take their trash.
Yeah. It's a problem. So that's something we're gonna really evaluate. So the DDA paid for more staffers, part-time staffers. to Work on this. But we're not gonna have more receptacles. I think the thought was like, let us see what we can do with staff and trying to deal with some of this, like just trash everywhere. before we just dive into more receptacles, because perhaps we can balance out both. So Nikki will have 2 additional part-time temps for 3 months.
We've got a dumping fine in town, right?
Yeah.
We've got a public dumping fine.
If caught.
I
That's
know,
the problem.
and so that's why I'm thinking like, how much would it really cost to put up some trail cameras or some game cameras to like catch these people who are dumping and write them tickets and enforce it? And that'll make it stop.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back when we had our own law enforcement, Nikki in law enforcement used to rip open people's trash to go through it to see if they could find some.
Oh, I know.
Identified.
Yeah, I know.
And so, but we obviously didn't do that when we didn't have law enforcement. So.
Yeah.
If you want to save money, use fake cameras.
But we need the proof that it's them in order to write them the
No,
dump.
no, no, it's a deterrent.
Yeah, he's just saying the
Yeah.
deterrent, next to every trash can, a big red light and a very obvious camera, then a big sign that says illegal dumping, fine $1,000 or
Yeah.
whatever.
We used-
So, the only thing I would say, because when we were going through the whole speed camera scenario, there were multiple board members. I'm totally fine with it, but there were multiple board members that did not want any type of videotaping of citizens. They felt it was an infringement on rights and everything. So I just mentioned that as a little caveat.
That's why the fake camera is perfect. It just.
And then only the people that know that it's fake are probably the ones that are actually taking care of their trash.
I know.
We had one I was on a homeowners association board and we had a problem with our dumpster. So with people doing this, right? So we would put up a fake camera there. And it really solved the problem because they thought they weren't gonna. And then someone's car the wheels got stolen off the car. It was on
Everybody
block.
figured out the camera was.
Well, no, this family came to us and said, we want the video. And we're like, oh, we can't give you the video. And they're like, why? We want, and so eventually we had to say, it's a fake camera, right? But, so.
Yeah. I mean, even now that we have, I mean, I think obviously now that we have law enforcement, I think in many ways we can go back to the way it was back when Nikki and Larry were digging through trash. It will be Nikki and Asa, like, but I obviously want to avoid that. But that was a lot of the conversation last night is the illegal dumping.
Well, is illegal dumping under the criminal code or?
It doesn't matter. They can enforce municipal code.
It's littering, if
Okay.
anything.
I thought they didn't unless we paid them more.
They do. They don't animal unless we pay them more. But they do all the other municipal codes for the current fee.
Yep.
But we now pay them more for animals, so now they do it all.
That was it.
Yeah.
We can't enforce the animal code.
But now they do. Now we pay for animal control.
Uh-huh.
I feel so sad.
You should, especially for your animals.
I was vehemently against switching and I'm still in support of a Nederland Police Department. And I'll admit.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that was my only other thing is figuring out if there is a way.
If we could
Sure.
get cops to come here and then follow them as they go through garbage left at the gas station, that would be riveting television.
It would be.
Nederland cops.
I was looking cops, the show cops. That was
No, yeah, it's still around, I think.
I know.
It is awesome.
I agree. I should watch it.
My guilty pleasure.
Agreed.
We've been on a roll with that. COVID.
So good. So good. You want me to do the capstone? So the capstone, yeah, unfortunately, and I don't, it wasn't because of me. I feel like I did a good job selling
No,
it.
you did.
The unfortunately weren't selected. What's interesting though is that one of their professors came up and said, I can actually help you. So if this doesn't work out, I will help you. And so I'm meeting with her on Tuesday where she could take her class and dedicate some of her students to us under them in a class project and we wouldn't pay for it. So it's not that we're lost. There were a ton of vendors. I think there were like 80 vendors. I could not, it was my first time being there. I could not believe it, how many organizations are vying for like 50 students. And they do teams, but had great conversations. They all really we're excited. I think our scope was maybe a bit too large and complex. Like when they're asking questions, it was hard to really narrow in the scope of like, what is sustainable tourism? What exactly would they be doing? And so I think maybe that's just food for thought, but they generally liked that we were outside the box. I just think they also, what I think we're missing is just the knowing that they have a job after this, right? You go work for Excel, you do this with Excel, you probably have a job. You do this for down in Netherlands, you don't have a job. And so I was asked a lot of questions of like, how will this set me up for kind of future employment? What kind of connections do you have to other jurisdictions that I could work with? And so that's something I think in the future we have to really think about is we don't have employment opportunities. And I understand as an intern, in many ways, they're all getting ready to graduate and they want to go.
Yeah, you know, one thing that we sold the previous capstone group on, and it has to be the right type of person, of course, was this is a small town where what you write is going to make an actual impact on our government, and it's going to be there 10 years to look back on to show your employer. This is the project that I worked on.
Yeah.
And this whole town has followed me, you know, in doing it. And pushing it more on the, like, you get a unique opportunity in a small town to stand big and proud above everybody else, where you don't get that when you're with a cohort of 500 other interns working at Excel.
I did try to sell that, and I did sell kind of the excitement of we don't have kind of a tourism management plan. We're just entering into this space.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that whatever we craft and whatever we build is grounded in sustainability. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of get involved in something new.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't all about like data collection, because we have a lot of the data. We have a lot of, so it's more about like analyzing what we already have and doing project development. And people seemed interested in that. I would love to know what the others had. And looking at the final list, they're big operations. So I thought
They are, they pay well is a big thing
That's- I didn't
about
think
a
about
lot
that.
of those,
yeah.
is they pay well. I would say another thing is that a lot of these, it's the same position they hire an intern for year after year after year after year. It's a fleshed out program. Whereas we're always bringing something that's like, hey, we've never done this before. You want to tackle it?
Yeah.
You know, whereas they have, no, we need the intern that does this at these events. And like a lot of them, what they get to do is they get to go to trade shows and they get to go to events and they get to sit at tables and they get to talk to people and they get to do a lot of fun things in their intern.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's hard to compete.
Yeah, we can.
So that's what I mean. It has to be the right people, like that group of capstone students we had before. Like one of them is still, she's working down there in the sustainability department now, one of our capstone students. And she's really self-driven, you know, and it was like a perfect fit.
Yeah.
Those three that we.
That's really interesting. Well, I think what will be cool about this professor is they did it in Lake County. Lake County started working on the sustainable tourism. So she wants to kind of continue that work. So I feel we're getting help. Help is coming.
Yeah.
Just in a different format.
Well, and the other thing
I like that.
I wanted to bring up is DU also has a sustainability internship. And so I bet you there's more than just Boulder University and Denver University. I bet there's a bunch of other colleges that have different sustainability departments and offer internships. And so we really should be trying to get involved with those other colleges as well and not just focus on Boulder.
Good point. I do wonder though, curious your thought on this, Melody, is like, obviously they asked me a lot about how often would I expect people here? And I really spoke about, you know, that we're very much into the remote hybrid world and that they're here as much as they feel like they need to be. And it's really driven by the student. But I don't know if you feel like that was ever a deterrent, like when just like us being removed in some capacity.
Well, when I went down there, it was pre-COVID, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe I did go once after.
Did you go last year? Yeah,
I must have, because nobody else did.
I think you did went last.
It was me, and I was the one who told the lady in the kitchen, you're having all these people compost this stuff, and me and this dude are talking over here about how we can't compost anymore. Do you realize all this is going to the landfill? She's like, what? She's like the head of the whole kitchen at the university. Meanwhile, I'm talking to the sustainability director of the university, and he's like, oh yeah, our dumpsters got rejected. We can't compost anymore. And his coworker that's in the kitchen doesn't even know. It was crazy. But yeah, I guess I did go post-COVID. I don't think it was. I think it was a benefit because a lot of them didn't necessarily have the time to drive up there.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like more of a selling point that we had that.
That's really how I worded it too. A lot of them worked outdoors.
I know with the capstone group, there were times that we did weekly check-ins with them. And so we had them come up once a week. But that wasn't for the full 9 months or whatever. That was during specific, like, key parts of it, and then otherwise they would just come to our SAT meetings and
Yeah.
kind of check in with us
Hmm.
there,
Okay.
which worked well for their schedule because Thursday evenings, they're not usually doing a lot.
Well, I agree. I'm happy to look into more schools because I do think.
Yeah. I
think
noticed
it was
in the Colorado Green Business newsletter that DU specifically had an internship, and so that's what made me think of it. It's like we can go other places too.
I guess the one thing is, for better or for worse, is the 8,000 you were gonna commit to this is now back in for you to use
Oh, what a bummer.
as you see fit. Yeah. I'm like, is that sad? I don't know. It's like now you have extra funding.
Well, we don't have anybody that we're paying that 8,000 with, but I suppose we still have the money.
Yeah. So I'll let you know after I talk to the professor on Tuesday,
Okay.
where we go from there.
Did Bernard Amadei ever reach out after those kind of discussions we had?
Nope.
I was just wondering,
Although
because he had also expressed a little bit of interest of taking things that we need done sustainability wise and working with people in his class on them
okay.
as well. But I just didn't know how engaged he actually wanted to be up here.
Okay,
But he's another professor to maybe
yeah,
reach out to.
Yeah.
Interesting guy.
Should we move on to other subcommittee updates?
Yes.
Well, we have the River Guardians. There's been a little bit of work being done with relation to this proposal that the Caribou Mine has to put in a permit.
Yeah.
Alan has really been the one that's taken the lead on this,
Mhm.
and he's not here, so we can just talk about that next time he's here.
maybe I could just say that one thing I had offered to Alan is, remember we had that session with Boulder County, where they talked about kind of the mine, this was COVID to the world. It was like an online session only where we talked about the impact of the mine.
Yeah.
But I would reach out to the same individuals and just say like, hey, we'd like to kind of talk about what's going on with the mine again. And get up
Well,
to
I think it's a little premature because they haven't submitted this thing yet.
Okay.
And they have until, I'm just going off of memory here, sometime in January of next year.
Mhm.
And the thought is that the state is going to ask them to get the application in so they have time to consider it before that. I'm not sure what the legality is. They might say, no, we have until this date next year. Who knows what they're going to do? And we can't really, I think, examine the proposal until we know exactly what the proposal is.
Yeah.
See what our
Has
position
anyone else looked into the actual company?
My partner worked there.
Okay.
Oh,
Cause I looked into it and I see a lot of like ode to commitment to sustainability and to wanting to like reinvent mining into the new world to where it fits in. I just don't know how true that
If you looked
actually
at
is.
Exxon, they'd say the same thing.
Exactly, right? So how do I know that they're being genuine and that's not just greenwashing, I guess is where I'm trying to understand.
My understanding, which may or may not be correct, of the operation currently up there is it's sort of in a caretaker phase, that they're really not doing much right now.
Yeah.
And that's why they laid off a bunch of staff, and left the apartments that they had rented here.
Mhm.
So I don't think a lot is going on right now, but I think this application depending on what it says, may or may not indicate that they want to start up again at some point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, the reason that this and I could be totally wrong, right? This is just what I'm hearing. But my understanding is the reason the application is like delayed is because they've got some cutting edge technology that they're trying to work with. And it's so new that the state isn't sure about it yet.
Yeah, I've heard that. I'm pretty skeptical about
See,
that.
that's how I feel
yeah,
too.
pretty
I just
skeptical,
know.
but
This is it.
who knows? I mean, it's all about making money, right?
Yeah.
And,
I don't know. No,
I
I
don't,
don't know that they're gonna make any money up there.
I don't know how much they can get in rare earths, right? Which is what they really want.
Well, yeah, it's the cost to getting it out.
Right.
Ratio, right?
Exactly.
Because Hendrix knows there's millions of dollars of gold up there, but how much is it
Well,
gonna cost?
I think what they really want is like the stuff that goes with the cell phones and things like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Hendrix wanted the gold.
yeah, I think that was like a tungsten mine, wasn't it? Or was it a
Gold and silver.
gold and silver? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that's interesting is, you really can't even see the mine, right? So
Yeah.
you can see that sort of mill type thing that they have below,
Mhm.
but the mine itself is closed off.
Yeah.
So,
What about the Eldora thing that Gary Walker just
I was
shared?
gonna ask about that.
I should look into that. I'm not
I didn't
really
get a
sure
chance
what,
to dig into it either.
and the thing, I'm a little leery of something like that, because I think it's probably got a lot to do with water rights.
Mhm.
And, I don't know how it's gonna impact the town's water rights, because it's the same basin that the town is in.
Mhm.
Maybe I can just speak to that, so, and I can speak to this only so far, for you all know this. So obviously, we're aware of the application of Eldora wanting to kind of activate some junior water rights that they have. We are evaluating the application from both water rights attorney and water rights engineers. We will bring our analysis to the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees will assess how they want to move forward, what kind of comment they want to do, filing opposition or whatever that might be. And so it's currently sitting with our legal, and that's really as far as I can share, but I can tell you towns all over it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't wanna do anything that deals with water rights.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to step on the toes of what the town.
But I think, yeah, that's the one area we would ask that you, and I know that's been hard for staff, and I know we've talked about in the past of like, we do that behind closed doors. And when it's right and appropriate, we'll absolutely bring staff in, we'll absolutely bring the guardians
Yeah.
in. But as it stands right now, this is currently being evaluated by attorneys.
Mhm.
So, more to come, but yeah, as soon as we heard about it, we moved, and so the board will make a decision. The board will have an executive session kind of about their water rights on March 5th, so.
Okay. Moving forward. Okay, any other updates from anybody else?
Leah did have her baby.
Oh,
Her name is Runa.
are you
Are
in
you
a,
saying that as a question?
I know, I was saying that as
it's an
Christian,
unusual name.
but I feel like I can tell you for reals. Yes, Runa. Here she is.
Beautiful. What is
I know. So super excited for her. Runa was born on end of January 30th.
Yay.
Yeah.
Sure, I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I will
Oh.
second that.
Third.
Nicole, do you-
Can
All
you
approved.
call a vote?
Oh, I didn't show. You want me to call them?
Yeah. because
Yeah.
I can't.
Melody?
I don't know. Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Maddie?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Maybe before you quickly adjourn, I do think you may want to consider your attendance. You have had members who, like, we can't get hold of Patricia ever to get her to respond to quorum.
You know, that's something to talk about because classically, the secretary has kept track of when you get to 3 absences, unexcused absences, and then that's in our bylaws when we can do
Right.
something.
And she's technically your alternate, but I do wonder if you want to directly to ask her, like, does she still want to serve? I'm just not really sure. She's missed way more than 3.
Yeah, definitely. And that's good to know. I'll start keeping more track of that.
Yeah, I don't think we explicitly told you that when we when we gave you that position.
That's okay.
Can we
I'm
talk
used to
about-
Yeah, I think we should.
Hey, do you still want to be an alternate or would you like to resign?
Maybe she thinks as an alternate, she doesn't need to be here unless she needs to be here.
Unless we tell her to be
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I mean, the hard thing is Macy reaches out about quorum and she's never responsive.
I don't think so, because we had, when she was, because she was a regular SAB member before she was an alternate, for a little while, and we had a hard time with her coming and responding then as well. And so she felt like as an alternate, she could still be here, but we weren't reliant on her.
Apropos of meetings, when is our next one? Because I thought, was this one a week early?
No.
I thought it was always supposed to be the 4th.
It
This
is,
is the
February 1st was a Thursday this month.
It's a,
Really?
yeah, so you're
It
March
just feels
28th.
real early.
Well, because you have a Thursday next week. That's
Right,
February
exactly,
Thursday.
yeah.
Yep.
There's actually 5 Thursdays in February.
Yeah.
Of all months.
Cause it's a
It's a
leap
leap
year.
Yeah.
Normally there.
Heavens to Murgatroyd, it really is the 4th. Okay,
All right.
Election year, baby.
so, okay, so it's the 28th of March, okay.
Yep.
And then April,
Gonna be around.
I'm gonna be around March. And I'm gonna be around April.
Cool.
And I'll be around May. I think I won't be out of town until July for all these meetings, so. Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm going to the Philippines in March.
I was like, as I said, there's no way you're not traveling.
No,
though,
it's
so.
No, I'm going to the Philippines in March, but it's the first part of March. So a couple weeks.
Nice.
And then Turkey and Greece in May. And then Botswana in August and then July. That's the one I'm gonna do.
My friend growing up is from Botswana. His mom's a princess over there.
That's awesome.
He's the sweetest kid, man. All right, I guess we can officially adjourn at 8:27 PM.
Thank you. Bye, Nicole. Are you back, Nicole?
Thanks. Yeah, am I what?
Are you back?
Oh, yeah, from California. Yeah, I'm back. It was a quick overnight trip.
Good though?
It was very good, yes.
Good. Love it. All right. Chat with you later.
Awesome. Very
Thanks.
cool.